The planet Vaynor had survived 3 extinction events, 2 ice ages, and 1 catastrophic meteor strike that had rearranged its entire northern continent. The Vera clan, apex predators with retractable claws, amber slit pupils, and the kind of stillness that made every smaller species nervous, had survived all of them. Nothing, however, had prepared them for Mara Ellison. She arrived on their territory in a battered survey pod, wearing mismatched boots and carrying a bag that clinked with strange containers. The clan's scouts had reported the landing within minutes. By the time Clan Elder was assembled the sentinels at the tree line, the human was already sitting cross-legged in the clearing, eating something orange from a pouch and humming to herself. "She hums," said Hai, the head sentinel, ears flattening in disbelief. "She hums off-key," added New York, who had perfect pitch and found this personally offensive. Wu raised a heavy paw for silence. "Observe." They observed. Mara finished her orange thing, tucked the empty pouch back into her bag with what the scouts would later describe in their reports as baffling tidiness, and then pulled out a small glowing rectangle and began poking at it with her thumb. She was still poking at it when the cub found her. Kale Vera was 11 seasons old, which meant he was old enough to know better and young enough not to care. He had slipped past the sentinel line the same way he always did, low way fast, and relying on the fact that Hai's attention wandered when she was anxious. He padded toward the strange creature in the clearing with his belly fur brushing the grass, ears forward, every instinct alive. The human looked up. Kale froze. Mara Ellison looked at the small predator crouched 6 feet away, amber eyes enormous, ears pinned back, jaw slightly open in a way that showed 4 very sharp teeth, and she said, in a voice of complete calm, "Oh, hello." She did not run. She did not make a loud noise. She did not reach for anything sharp. She simply tilted her head and looked at him the way he had seen Elder Wu look at a particularly interesting rock formation. Kale's instinct to flee arm-wrestled his instinct to investigate. Curiosity won, because curiosity always won with Kale, which was the core of his problem as far as the clan was concerned. He crept forward another step. Mara turned her glowing rectangle around so it faced him. On the screen, a small orange creature, 4 legs, pointed ears, a tail, eyes that were frankly unsettling in their similarity to his own, was chasing a small red dot across a smooth floor. The orange creature leaped. Missed. Skidded into a wall. Got up with a dignity it had not earned. Kale stared. The orange creature chased the dot again. Missed again. Fell off a table. Something happened in Kale's chest. A sound came out of him that he had never made before, a short, breathy, stuttering thing that wasn't quite a growl and wasn't quite a chirp. He didn't know what it was. He didn't have a word for it. Mara Ellison, whose species had invented that sound and refined it over 10,000 years of social evolution, recognized it immediately. She had made Kale Vera laugh. By the 3rd video, the sentinel line had collapsed. They came one at a time, the way the Vera clan did everything, Hai first, because she had to know what the cub had stumbled into. Then New York, because she heard Hai make a sound she had never heard Hai make before and had to investigate. Then Di and Joe, the 2 youngest scouts, because where New York went they followed, having not yet developed the pride required to pretend they didn't. Then me, the clan historian, because me documented everything and this was clearly something. What came last? What always came last? By the time the elder reached the clearing, Mara was sitting in the center of a ring of large predators, her phone propped against her bag, running what appeared to be an extensive curated playlist. She had not moved from her cross-legged position. She had, at some point, opened a second pouch of the orange food and was eating it again. On the screen, a cat sat in a box that was clearly too small for it and stared at the camera with an expression of absolute, sovereign contempt. The entire clan leaned forward. "Why," said Hai, in the trade tongue all interspecies contacts defaulted to, "does it sit in the box?" "Because it wants to," Mara said. "The box is too small." "I know." It knows the box is too small. Almost certainly. Hai stared at the screen. Her tail moved in a slow, considering arc. It sits in the box anyway. Every time. There was a long silence. Then Hai looked at Kale, and Kale looked at Hai, and something passed between them that was probably the first genuine moment of mutual understanding they had shared in the 3 years since Kale had started making Hai's sentinel duties complicated. I understand this creature, said Hai, with great solemnity. Mara nodded. Most people do. The issue of Mara's presence on Vayner, the permits, the survey rights, the 17 forms of interspecies contact protocol that the Interstellar Compact required, did not get discussed that night. Or the night after. Or, technically, for most of the following week. This was because Wa, who had to sign the forms, kept getting distracted. The one where it fights its own tail again, the elder said, on the 4th morning, settling enormous shoulders into a more comfortable position against the trunk of a spire tree. Start from the beginning. Elder Wa. Me, the historian, had a voice that could carry across a canyon. It did not help. The survey permits. After. The compact liaison arrives in 3 days? After, me. Mara found the video. She had, by this point, run through her downloaded playlist twice and had begun streaming directly from something she called the internet, which she explained to a fascinated New York as a vast web of connected information nodes spanning human civilization. New York had asked how vast. Mara had thought about it and said there were, conservatively, 14 billion cat videos. New York had needed to sit down. 14 billion, Dai repeated, when New York reported back to the clan that evening. Dai was young enough to be impressed by large numbers and old enough to understand their significance. They made 14 billion recordings of their small orange beasts? Not just orange, Joe said. Many colors. Mara showed me a gray one. 14 billion, Dai said again, like it was a holy number. They have also recorded the cats sleeping, New York said, with the tone of someone who had looked into the abyss. 4 hours. Just. Sleeping. And it has been watched 200 million times. The clan sat in silence and considered what this said about humanity. They are, me said eventually, in the careful voice of a historian choosing words for the record, a very particular kind of people. Mara Ellison completed her survey of the northern mineral deposits on day 9. She had expected a 2-week project. It had taken her 9 days because Hai, once she understood what the survey equipment was doing, had appointed herself Mara's territorial guide out of what she called professional interest, and the rest of the clan called an excuse to ask more questions about the gray sleeping cat. On the morning of departure, the clan assembled at the pod. Was stood at the front, which meant this was formal. Mara stood her ground, which we had come to expect, and waited. You will return, was said. It was not entirely a question. Survey Recon needs a follow-up visit in about 6 months, Mara said. I'll put in the request. Bring more of the internet, said Hai, from somewhere behind was left shoulder. I'll download a bigger playlist. The one where the small beast defeats the large water stream, said Kale, who had technically not been invited to this formal farewell but was there anyway, sitting at Mara's feet with his chin tilted up in a way that probably wasn't supposed to look as hopeful as it did. Bring that one. Mara crouched down to his eye level. Kale had grown, in 9 days, from a cub who fled first and wondered later into something that sat still and watched and asked questions whose answers he actually waited to hear. She couldn't take credit for that. She'd only handed him a phone. That one's already downloaded, she said. First video on the list. Kale blinked his amber eyes. The sound happened again, the short, breathy, stuttering laugh that the clan had all quietly adopted over the past week and would spend the next several months pretending was a completely normal vocalization they had always made. Mara Ellison's pod lifted off at mid-morning. The clan watched it go from the clearing, 11 predators standing in a loose ring around the space where a human had sat cross-legged and changed something in all of them. 6 months, Hai said. She'll come back, said Kale. He sounded certain, the way only someone very young and very recently proven right could sound certain. Was said nothing. The elder turned and walked back toward the trees. But before the shadows swallowed the great gray form, the clan's most experienced, most decorated, most stoic leader paused just for a moment. The box, was said. She'd better bring the one with the box. Then the elder was gone, and the forest was quiet, and New York started laughing first, but no one admitted it later. 6 months, 2 weeks, and 4 days after departure, Survey Pod Ellison 7 touched down in the northern clearing of Vayner. The whole clan was waiting. Mara had downloaded 600 new videos. It was, by every measure, enough.